All right, Josh. Or Ace, you're up.
Hey, everybody! Defenders of Comics is in the house. We're here tonight with Coach and with special introduction. Ref is here. The Ref. Welcome, Ref.
Thanks for having me.
So, yeah. Welcome. Hey, we're going to talk tonight about Marvel's Thunderbolts, give a history of them, and go over what the potential is for a Disney Plus show and or movie. Then we're going to talk about some gender swapping of roles that consistently seems to be happening, and probably go into Jupiter's Legacy and talk about that. So that's what we got online tonight.
So, my question to you guys, in Ref, I know you are a gigantic Thunderbolts fan. Is Disney, could they go down as making this a series, especially with Suicide Squad getting so much information and publicity right now? Do you see that happening with chance?
Oh, most definitely. I think definitely introducing Zemo and almost introducing a different side to Zemo. Maybe he has a tinge of goodness in there, and because obviously the Thunderbolts have their notoriety of, yeah, we're gonna fake this whole good guy thing. We're gonna be a bunch of bad guys faking the good guy stuff, and you know they actually tend to kind of like it, and they kind of tend to do the dirty grimy stuff that we don't see with other groups like the Avengers and um, New Warriors and stuff like that. So
I don't
Yeah, I
know
mean,
a
there's
whole lot about the Thunderbolts compared to like Suicide Squad. So, are they very comparable? I mean, is it that kind of a storyline that we're going to see, you think?
I don't know. I mean, like they didn't start out like a Suicide Squad at all, but they have had times where they have evolved into a bit more Suicide Squad because there's been, and Ref will know this, there's been a lot of different Thunderbolts. There's been a few consistent uh, threads with Thunderbolts, but they have molded and reformed into something different quite a few times over the years. So, it's not like where the Avengers are always the Avengers with different members. Sometimes the Thunderbolts act totally different than they were in the beginning. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think
but
I think I think the intriguing part of the Thunderbolts is the original team. The original run by Kurt
yeah,
Busiek is is phenomenal. And Josh can talk more or Ace. I'm sorry, Josh. Uh,
Well, before
you've
before you
got
go
the
to
wrong name on there.
I know.
before you
Throws
go
me
too
off.
much further, act like you're talking to me that doesn't know much about it. Who are the original members? And I think I know who the original members are, but who are they
Yeah.
basically?
Go ahead, Josh. You're
Yeah, let me just give a real quick context for it too, that what set it up, because it's still the greatest shock surprise ending of a first issue ever. It's never been done before, and it's or since, and it wouldn't happen in today's day and age because of the internet and reviews. Back in the mid 90s, I think, I don't know if it was 95, 96, somewhere along the lines. Anyway, long story short, Marvel sales were in the tanker and close to bankruptcy. So they brought back the guys from Image, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld being the two big guns that came back, and took the Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, and Fantastic Four, and they took over. And there was a huge storyline called Onslaught, and I won't get into the origins of that issue, but basically everyone thought all those characters were dead, but really they were transported to another world, and Rob and Jim were given free reign to kick in some sales and do their own thing with those characters. But in the regular Marvel universe, there was a big emptiness of heroes. There was just Spider-Man, the X-Men, and Daredevil, pretty much. So what happened is Marvel promoted this new team coming out, Thunderbolts, blah blah blah, and it seemed kind of generic, like, okay, Thunderbolts, they look okay, I guess, but whatever. Um, and so you had let's see, 6 members. You had Citizen V, Atlas, Techno, Meteorite, Mach 4, and Songbird. So those were the core members of the group. And you're like, okay. And they visually look pretty cool, especially Citizen V. That's still like one of the better costume designs ever. But what happened is, so nobody knew this. You went into the comic shop, and I went in and bought issue 1. Like, okay, cool. And you get to the end of the freaking comic, and holy crap, it's Baron Zemo. He takes off his mask, and all the Thunderbolts are the masters of evil, and they're pulling a snow job on the whole world, thinking they're superheroes. In the meantime, they're planning to take over the world because the Avengers are gone. And so it's like the greatest, shock value that's ever occurred in comics, and you can't replicate it these days. And it's a real shame that I don't think they're going to be able to pull something like that off with the MCU. It would be so cool if they did it like that, but I just don't see where that narratively fits in at this point. But
Okay,
so that's a quick little rundown.
Now, 2 things before we go any further. Unfinished Business says, bring this guy on here, and he can't even remember the nickname. So good job, Ref.
My nickname.
And then the other thing is, if you feel this is going to be a series, are they going to try to do it that way, or is Baron Zemo just going to be Baron Zemo?
Ref, you got an opinion? I mean, I do have a thought, but go ahead.
I mean, I think Baron Zemo would have to change his image, obviously, because of the stickiness that he has got in the MCU. But visually, I don't think his Citizen V outfit would be that hard to pull off, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have more difficulty with the special effects of maybe an Atlas or a Songbird or something like that, but you're not. I mean, Baron would be a.
You could do it.
Fix, yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like trying to introduce all those other characters other than Zemo at this point, or I don't see how you introduce them long term. You're gonna just have to plop them in there and then get to know them later on. Or there have been variations, like we've talked about with the Thunderbolts, variations of the team where it's more classic villains, and a Baron Zemo is still there, or Songbird, who we can tell you who those characters are in a second. But there's been a few, like I said, there's been a few mainstays, and then they end up they end up leading different variations. And one variation was more just like, hey, it was more Suicide Squad-esque, where Zemo or Songbird were there, but they were leading like Bullseye and some other classic villains on things, and they called themselves the Thunderbolts, and they even worked for the government. So that was very much more along the Suicide Squad kind of thread, and I wonder if that won't be easier for the MCU to try to do.
Well, and they brought on, the kind of in the middle type heroes like Punisher and Red Hulk and other.
Oh yeah, right.
Other kind of, they're heroes, but they don't necessarily
kill
the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's an element of Suicide Squad that I could see. Them pulling off, and because having like a Rick Flag type situation.
Right.
Thunderbolts.
As a person that's trying to think about it, how would they spin Zemo from the Falcon and Winter Soldier? I can understand with what you're saying about his identity. But at the same time, if you're thinking the Winter Soldier could have anything to do with it too, then are you changing him also? And then I think as me, just a casual viewer, I don't know how confused I can get that way. Now, at the same time, Marvel has done these kind of things perfectly when they do it.
Yeah.
So they're either probably going to go full out on it or not at all.
Yeah, it's just you could throw Buck. Like I said, I think you and I have even talked about, well, maybe Bucky ends up, sort of kind of working for the government because he wants a place, and maybe working with some criminals to help reform. Like, even though he wasn't in his heart a criminal, he still did a lot of bad things, and he's still
Right.
trying to do right. So maybe they throw him in there, and they let Zemo go in there too, and they both kind of co-lead a group of criminals. And maybe they go one of two ways. Maybe they go the suicide route, or maybe they throw them into fancy costumes because there isn't an Avengers, but this is the government Avengers, and we're gonna throw you out in front of the public and be like the new superheroes. And maybe Zemo does become Citizen V in that sense, and they're like, hey, no one would ever accept Zemo because he's probably world known as a criminal. Let's put him out as Citizen V, and then we can hide his identity, and he can be a hero.
One way that I do want to see, if this does happen, one thing that I do want to see is that psychiatrist that's working right now with Bucky. I want her to be in this, working with all of them.
Oh, that would be a good little and add for some good humor.
Yeah, I mean she's been great when we've seen her on right now, so I think she could do well with this kind of group of people too. And I do see at the same time Bucky, the government doesn't fully trust him. I mean, they know what he was.
No,
So
not
for
at
him to
all.
be the full leader too, it is going to be a weird, I don't know. It's just a weird situation, but it could be really cool at the same time.
Yeah. Ref, who do you want to see on the team if you could pick? I mean, would you want to see the originals, or are there some other members from some of the later variations that you'd like to see on the team?
I'd say like a mix. I mean, I'm pretty partial to some of the originals. I mean, Songbird has kind of gone through the, she's been on, seems like, almost every team.
Yeah, she seems very important to the team. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of Atlas. I know my affinity to giant people like Giant Man and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
Uh, I
Yeah.
I would like to see. I think there just needs to be. I mean, the cool thing about the Thunderbolts is they're just so dynamic. They've got a leader like Citizen V, and then they've got you know um, supporting characters like Songbird and Atlas and Tech and all those other ones.
Yeah.
So I would like for them to go. I mean, some of them are so obscure that you could get away with bringing these people off the street and saying, okay, they seem okay, but then we
Yeah.
find out their twisted past.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is one way you could be like, okay, we're not going to do this long, drawn out 5-year process of introducing these characters and throwing them in. These are the type of more obscure characters. That's a good point, where you could say, hey, we're just going to plop them in a show, and you'll get to know them over time. And then one thing I wanted to bring up about the Thunderbolts was, like, Songbird was Screaming Mimi, and Atlas was Goliath, an evil Goliath. And then you had Techno was the Fixer, Meteorite was Moonstone, and you had Mach 4 was a Spider-Man villain called the Beetle.
Mm.
And so what was cool, though, over the course of the early series was how they were all in on the plan, and all were villains, and all wanted to take over the world. But as they were heroes for a while, some of them turned and actually
Enjoyed it.
enjoyed it and stayed good, and are still good to this day. Whereas like Meteorite, she's pretty twisted, and she's still pretty bad. And so's Techno, who was the Fixer. Those two are kind of always been the ones that have stayed bad, and like Abe, or Mach 4 and Songbird and Atlas had really had a real change of heart and turned to the good. So I thought that was really interesting how that Busiek did all that.
As a fan of Marvel altogether, though, the one thing they're going to have to do for sure, in my opinion, is Baron Zemo's going to have to go from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's going to have to at least be the guy that goes over to this side to get that one going. Because they never just start fresh with all new people. They at least start picking and prodding, like Ant-Man or like Spider-Man was even in stuff before Spider-Man. So they're going to do stuff like that. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think Zemo's an obvious choice because he's the leader of the Thunderbolts. So it's just like, do you include Bucky with this, who has led the Thunderbolts also? Or do you just kind of keep it Zemo or a combination?
Well,
I don't know.
You also have another seed possibly with our current Captain America agent trying to redeem himself. If because we're starting to see little bits and pieces of him not quite being right.
And don't you think all three of those could end up coming together in this perfect storm situation? Yeah. But I will say this. I do worry Sebastian Stan is too big now to go unless he is the center of the whole thing. I don't think Sebastian Stan is just going to go and be the sidekick with everybody else. I think he has to be the center.
Yeah, if he is the Thunderbolts, then he's top billing. He's top star with Daniel Bruhl, a very close second. But you're right. Yeah, those two guys would be kind of co-leads, but Sebastian Stan would be the lead. I agree.
Could they do a twist after Black Widow? Could they do a twist with Taskmaster training any of these people? I know he wasn't officially ever in Thunderbolts, right? But could he do a twist with it?
Well, here's the other scenario. Let's go a completely different track where we don't get to see the fan favorite Thunderbolts aside from Zemo. Because this is the other rumor that's been out there is, Ref had a good point. John Walker, he's going to be disgraced. You got Zemo. I think depending on what happens with Taskmaster and Black Widow, he seems like too much of a fan favorite to kill off, but I guess we'll find out. But let's just say he makes it through that movie. He would be another one. And then I've heard, they really want to bring back Abomination. And in fact, I think he's going to appear in She-Hulk. So after all these years, you bring back Abomination, and maybe you finally introduce Thunderbolt Ross as Red Hulk, and there you've got Thunderbolts with Zemo. So I don't know.
I mean, as a person that doesn't know the Thunderbolts, that excites me. I mean, it really does.
Yeah.
And I think Russell is good enough actor, and people already hate him enough that it's given it publicity even that way, that this could be the perfect way for him to win over some fans being this cool character.
And Ref, what do you think? I weirdly don't hate. I don't hate Walker.
I'm waiting to the point because, and I think we had a discussion the other day about how John Walker is kind of a likable guy, but he's kind of a, for a lack of a better word, douchebag at times. I think it's important that he has that characteristics. But I tell you what, those first couple episodes, there wasn't much about John Walker that I hated.
I agree.
I thought he was a likable guy. I thought he was an admirable guy. I thought, man, his dedication and duty to service, and I really still, even through his battle scars and even through his recent episode, I still don't hate the guy.
There's only
I don't hate him either.
There's one big quality that he did not have from the very beginning, and he was never ever humble, ever. And I think a good hero has to be humble. I mean, that's why we like Captain America, Steve Rogers, is because he was humble, and he never came off that way. Who?
Tony Stark is not.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a billionaire, so he doesn't have to be.
Well, here's what's cool about it, though, is they are nailing the character John Walker from the comics.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, John Walker was an ass in the comics. I remember reading it when it first came out, like, oh my gosh, I hate this guy. I want Steve back like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, you find out he wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah,
Was
I
he
agree.
a cocky guy? Oh yeah. But I thought the scene with him and Battlestar just talking in the mall or whatever after they signed some autographs and they're talking about would you take the serum and John's like, what if I took it? You know, what do you think? And he's questioning himself. What should I take it? What would happen to me? So you know, the bad guy doesn't even consider that. So
Yeah,
I
that was
think
the
they are
most
still
humble
trying
part
to.
that he's been.
Yeah, I think they're trying to sprinkle in. It's like he's not an evil guy. He's just a cocky guy that isn't always very likable.
Devin
Which
Lemons gives us a thumbs up, by the way.
that a girl.
Oh, how are you still up? Go to bed. Take
Hey,
care of
don't
your
go to bed.
kids.
We'll lose a viewer.
We know all the viewers.
We'll go down to 49,000.
I know we gotta keep it up at 50. Thank you,
Yeah.
Devin.
We need that money. Don't talk bad about my man Stark. Unfinished business.
Oh, we love Stark. I love Tony.
I like Batman better,
I mean-
but okay.
I mean, I love Tony Stark. He is the least humble superhero ever.
Except he did the snap.
Oh,
Yeah.
again, though, it's like that's what Marvel does well. Most of the time, they nail the characters to a T. I think really the only major character so far I haven't felt they really nailed is Hawkeye, but maybe they'll get more to Hawkeye in the series when it comes out.
Okay, this is a segue from that. Hawkeye had something to do also with the Thunderbolts, correct?
Yes, he did. Thank you. That was a big change because Zemo got outed, and I forgot why. I think he went. It ended up being where most of the team turned good except Zemo and Moonstone or / Meteor, right? And I think at the time they thought he was dead, so everyone was good, and they brought in some new recruits, Jolt and Charcoal, and it was like, hey, we're good guys, but the government and the world knows we're evil or we're faking now, but we want to be real heroes. And so Hawkeye was like, hey, look, I'm kind of not feeling the Avengers right now, and I was a villain for a very small amount of time. I want to help these guys reform, and I'm the guy to lead them. And Hawkeye's real cocky too.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I don't think you really get that conveyed with Jeremy Renner as much. But Hawkeye was, I mean, you think John Walker was cocky. Man, you ought to go back and read those earlier comics with Hawkeye. He was almost intolerable. But anyway, so he thought he's the guy and would go lead the Thunderbolts, and he did for quite a while. I don't remember how long it was, but I mean, we've read the trades. I just can't remember how long it was.
It was a good year at least.
I'd say at least, yeah, minimum. Yeah.
So with his Disney Plus series coming up, is there any possibility they mix him with this, or with his daughter going to take over, is he going to die?
Zero.
So he's
Zero
going to die.
chance.
Yeah.
I don't think he dies. I mean, and it's not his daughter that'll take over. It's Kate. It is Kate Bishop in the show, at least from what I've read.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I know what you're thinking, though, Coach, is that, yeah, the daughter and Endgame, and he's kind of helping her shoot. But Kate Bishop is not his daughter in the comics, and she's reportedly playing, or Haley Steinfeld is playing Kate Bishop. So I don't know how. I think it's what it's going to be is he finally at the end of the series fully retires and is with his family, and now he's got a new Hawkeye to take over, and that's it. C'est la vie. So I think there's like a 1% chance Jeremy Renner continues on as Hawkeye after this series, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes you curious of why they showed him in the Ronin state, and him, established in this I hate the world type state, again, maybe he might need to find some sort of redemption.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's going to play with the series. Like, he's still answering for all the crap he did as Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, and maybe he's like, I still can't be with my family because I've got Yakuza and Mafia all after me constantly because I killed most of their families. So,
All right, so I got to
yeah.
do this real quick. I got to do two things. So with us having 49,000 people here in the chat, and
Yep.
all of them have to hit that like button so we can try to get some more. And then the other thing is, I want to know from them if they're watching it live or if they're watching it later, who of the Thunderbolts are they looking forward to? And if they don't know any information about the Thunderbolts, ask us and we can try to respond to those comments.
Yeah. Let us know what you want to know. And, I recommend highly though, guys, if you're interested at all in comics, go get Volume 1 Thunderbolts by Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley. It's like super awesome. Still holds up. Go read it. It's from the early or mid 90s, but go check it out.
So you're saying no politics are involved?
No.
Less than what it is right now.
Kurt Busiek is a very political individual.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't as much during that time.
Oh man, he was red hot then between Thunderbolts and Astro City.
Mm-hmm.
Red hot fire.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff holds up great too. Still really, really good.
If viewers are really wanting this, like if they start getting excited from getting information, would you say it's pretty dang close to the Suicide Squad? I mean, that type of situation? Or are you saying no, don't think of it in that way?
I really wouldn't. I mean, not in the early run. Not in the early run. If you want to go later on, and Ruff, you give me your opinion too. It did kind of become, because then we started getting some B-list villains like Blizzard and Radioactive Man and well, Bullseye's not B-list, but some other villains that were kind of part of the Thunderbolts team, and it started to feel a Suicide Squad like. So that era, yes, Suicide Squad. But if you're going to start with the early stuff, I don't feel like it was Suicide Squad. Do you?
Well,
Ref? I mean, do you?
I think
it
can. Yeah, I think it can get pretty convoluted a little bit in Marvel's universe because they've got the squads like the Dark Avengers and stuff that has maybe more of a evil / more controlled thing. Because I truly do believe that the cool thing about the Thunderbolts and why I probably have a little more passion for them is that they started off wanting to, be a wolf in sheep's clothing, but like Ace has said, is that they have kind of found their way. They have kind of there's some members that figured it out. Like, it's kind of nice being the notoriety and to have those warm and fuzzies of doing good. And so, yeah, I think it can maybe have some parallels with Suicide Squad, but it's not. You have to think of Suicide Squad as evil people forced to do good.
And force is the key word.
Force, yeah.
Yes. And I think the Thunderbolts maybe initially started off to do evil, masked as good, but they started to like it. Even Citizen V, even Baron Zemo. There was a definite pull for him to actually kind of challenge his evil ways.
There was a run where he did become pretty good. Like, he finally did try to go a softer route. I mean, he was never like Captain America, but he did go a little bit softer and started to have a relationship with Songbird and kind of tried to change for her. So, yeah, it didn't last, but he tried.
Besides Baron Zemo basically killing the scientist and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in my opinion, he has actually done nothing bad. He's broke the vials that he could break. He, was doing all that kind of stuff. As a person that does like Baron Zemo and does like the villain part of Baron Zemo, I'm going to be a little disappointed if in these next 2 episodes we never get the bad villain Baron Zemo. Do you see it going that direction? And could the reason be because of Thunderbolts in the future?
Yeah, I think he's gonna stab us all in the back. I mean, even the actor Daniel Brühl said, "Don't trust Zemo. Like, he gonna get you."
Good. And I
So
want
I
to
don't know
see
what
it.
he's gonna. Yeah, I don't. As much as I enjoy his performance, it's like, well, I don't really want to see him be a total good guy. He does need to do something kind of crappy.
Well,
So,
I think that's the appeal of it. Again, I think one of the best things about the Daredevil Netflix series is him wrestling with this idea: should I do good things? Should I do bad things? Should I use violence? Should I not? Him.
right,
I mean, like, the beauty of it was him wrestling with his faith, and
right,
I mean, I wouldn't anticipate Zemo to just turn it off. As a therapist, we know that you just don't turn off bad things.
yeah,
You live a life of bad things, and it doesn't necessarily just one day you wake up and say, well, I'm gonna be good. No,
yeah,
Baron's gonna struggle.
Now, see, my problem with this though is I'm telling my kids and wife that don't know anything, but they are enjoying the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm telling them the whole time, don't trust him. He's a big villain. Be ready. And they're all like, Dad, he's not really doing anything wrong. He's actually helping and blah, blah, blah. And
right.
so,
I think I think what it is about Zemo, at least in the MCU, in the comics, he was more straight up. I mean, he was bad. We talked about that last time, but in the MCU, I think he has a code is his thing, and he seems to have a bit of honor when it needs to be in place. But his code is that, look, at the end of the day in the MCU, it sounds like he was a husband and a father, and a good husband and a father, and so he's kind of doing the whole Batman thing. He's kind of striking out with vengeance, and his goal is going to be achieved by whatever means is necessary. And so in his mind, the ends justify the means to do a greater good. So he kind of has that code of like, I'm not doing this to rule the world. I'm not doing this to spread wealth and my own power. He's doing this to make sure there's not an Avengers or a Super Soldiers. So
okay.
that's a kind of a distinction that is different from the comics.
Anything else on the Thunderbolts that you can think of? Because we're
Well,
about
I hope
to.
yeah. I just hope it happens. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter
Okay.
when.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10, 100% is going to happen. Or if you just want to do 100%, what do you think? I mean, honestly.
I'm in the camp of it's a strong 7. I think Marvel's plans do change, and sometimes they'll be hot on an idea and they kind of see things naturally go a different way, so they pivot. But I still say things are leading to that, and I think it's a strong 7.5 out of 10.
Man, you've been watching too many pizza reviews by Barstool Sports.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
What do you got, Ref?
Well, Marvel disappoint me a little bit. As most people know, I have somewhat of a bias towards DC Comics, but they're going to find a way of slamming the door. Just going back to the WandaVision stuff, they bring up all these awesome things like I mean, what we're talking about in this show, like with John Walker and Baron Zemo, and like they're getting us teas. So they know us little nerds like Ace, Coach, and I are out there like, that's so cool. I hope.
I never got Wonder Man, damn it.
I know. They're getting us
the scientist.
And I feel
aerospace engineer, sorry.
like I feel like we're gonna be somewhat let down. So yeah,
it's good. That's a good advice. Temper your expectations for sure.
But they have planted every seed that I think we could have expected for this type of team, and I think the viewership would be great on this because of and it's almost like a gritty show like Daredevil. Like I'm wrestling with this type of stuff.
Yeah, you could get into pretty gray territory, which would be interesting.
I'm gonna go high on this. I'm gonna be an 8, and I'm teetering towards a 9. And the reason is just a business decision. I think they really see that Suicide Squad is making some headway, and they're gonna say, okay, you do this, we'll do this, but I do think they're gonna go big. They're gonna go Baron Zemo. They're gonna go Winter Soldier. They're gonna go John Walker. Those are their 3 main people, and then they're gonna put other people in with those. And I think it's gonna happen because they already have them. I mean,
well, and they don't have to spend much more for the other supporting characters. I mean, you can get some low, B-level actress to do Songbird, or I Marvel has made a bunch of good actors and actresses.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't hire a nobody to play John Walker. You hired Kurt Russell's son.
And the chin, man, that chin makes him. That chin is.
My wife is not a fan of him. She goes, "Oh, he's not very handsome." I said, "Blasphemy!" I said, "He is the son of Kurt Russell."
He still looks like the dad of the old man on Up to me.
Yeah.
Well, in that one shot, it's hard to argue. Yeah.
That costume, for some reason, is the world's worst. I don't know why they did that. And
it's gonna look good. It's gonna look good in black, though. When they change it to black, that'll look cool.
Okay, unfinished business. He says, "Don't want to sound stupid, but who are the Thunderbolts?" Have you been listening to one thing?
I
gotta check out on that. Oh, they say there's no such thing as stupid questions.
Except we've been talking about this for over 40 minutes now, and I would think you would have, picked up on some of it.
No, we love your question, unfinished business. Thank you for your support.
Hey, and Tom Brady is still on the Patriots too, right?
Yeah, he's coming back.
Gonna win them a Super Bowl again.
Yeah, Cam is gone, and they're bringing back Tom. It's happening.
Okay, unfinished business said he had to leave for a while. The White Sox just threw a no-hitter. You better make a TikTok.
There you go, man. That's gonna happen.
That's just some free TikTok. Gotta go for it. Big news. All right, so we're waiting for Ref. I'm guessing he's going to get another beer. Next thing, are we going to talk about the thing that's probably going to...
We're going to get a little controversy here. It's going to be a little controversy.
Okay.
So we may need to break and start again for our endeavors here. A momentary pause. We're going to filibuster. We're going to let you filibuster for a moment.
Ref? Since he's the rookie, right?
Is Ref going to filibuster?
He's got a filibuster.
Filibuster. Why you should read DC Comics.
I'm for that. I like DC, and I'm so mad that DC is messed up so bad because I feel their characters are so much better than Marvel's characters.
They're so much they're so much more relatable.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
See, most people would say the opposite, and they're just going to use the term as like, oh, DC, the Greek gods, and they're all powerful, and they're always perfect. Where when Marvel came along, they're Joe Schmo like Peter Parker, who's got problems and can't get a girlfriend, or Yeah, I'm just telling you that's the narrative though. That's kind of the narrative, and it's not true. You're right. Like Barry Allen has tons of problems. Hal Jordan has all kinds of issues and relationship problems and family problems. I mean, it's not like Clark Kent doesn't have problems. So don't come at me with that.
One of the things that I've always heard, and you can tell me if this is true or not, is Marvel are humans trying to be gods, trying to become gods, and DC are more gods being human. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean that's a good analogy, and that's what a lot of people kind of go to with
I love the DC villains. I mean, the villains are phenomenal in the DC, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I love Marvel, and it's kind of like trying to. I know Ref is more DC, and I'm if I have to pick, I pick DC, but I mean, Marvel's so close, and there's just so many good things about it that I don't want to have to pick. I love them both pretty close to equal, but at the end of the day, Superman's on at DC, so that's it.
Okay, now question, and I know the answer before you answer it, but would you have said it's really close before Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr.?
Oh yeah, I mean, now ref, you chime in here, but I'm just I'm going off of as a kid.
Okay.
There's a string in the 80s where I'm sorry, Marvel was killing DC in the comics. Okay, I'm not talking movies. We had no movies, man. That's why I'm so appreciative of what we got now, because all I had was crappy Lou Ferrigno and green paint. We had Superman, and that was it until '89 and Batman '89. Before that, it was crappy, garbage Spider-Man TV, Lou Ferrigno and green paint, and then we had Superman. So I'm appreciative of all the stuff we have now. But back in the 80s, ooh, man, Marvel Comics was killing it with Captain America and this story right here, the U.S. agent story. And Iron Man, oh my gosh, when he put on the Silver Centurion armor and the West Coast Avengers, that's where I fell in love with Hawkeye and the Avengers, the main Avengers book, and the X-Men was on fire. Yeah, they were in charge big time, man. Their comics were on fire. And then it became late 80s, early 90s where I thought around the time where Superman died is where DC really stepped up and they really started coming on strong then.
I mean, I'm with Ace in saying that, like, some of my favorite times in Marvel. I mean, currently, I think Marvel is hashtag crap with concern to comics.
Hashtag hot garbage.
It's just really not good. I mean,
Yeah, I got to put those in. Hashtag hot garbage.
But yeah. I think
hashtag dumpster fire.
Some of my favorite stuff is from Marvel, is from the late 80s, Frank Miller's run on Daredevil, and introductions of really cool, I mean, some of it was Guggenheim's Squadron Supreme, and his run on Captain America, like
Grunwald.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mark Grunwald. Yes.
Yeah.
Genius stuff.
Yeah, I mean his Captain America run is some of the best Captain America you'll
Still my favorite.
Scourge, his run with the
genius.
Scourge, it was genius. I mean, it was some of this ThunderBolts stuff just wrapped together in
right
ingenious way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Marvel, I still have such a great affinity for Marvel, and I love Marvel comics. There's several Marvel superheroes that I enjoy, but I tend to relate more with the DC characters, such as Booster Gold.
Booster Gold, we're gonna do a whole episode on him.
Shout out!
Just for you.
And I'll bring my dog. His name's Booster. He is a sweet boy. And he's a golden doodle. Get it? Booster Golden Doodle.
Oh, Booster Golden Doodle. We love you.
Yeah. He's my boy.
Oh my gosh.
My boy. You're my boy, Boo.
Just went, woo.
Yeah. No, but they're both really good. They've all had ups and downs, both companies, really.
Don't you think, though, right now, for sure, DC is beating Marvel in the comics?
Oh, man, I got to say, but barely. I mean, DC's in bad shape, too, man. Really bad shape.
But here's the problem with Marvel is they're so convoluted. Marvel's business model is to flood the market. DC's business model is, let's throw you a bunch of Batman and hopefully it sells.
No, that is true. I mean, DC's decided we're the House of Batman and friends. Oh, Batman, and then, well, we'll give you a Superman book and maybe a Wonder Woman, and if you're really nice, we'll give you Flash. Otherwise, you get 500 Batman books.
I think that's a great strategy. I mean, I'm for that
You would
gigantically.
say that.
I'm for that big time. But I will say that last comic that I read with Superman, I thought was good.
Which one was that?
Oh,
The,
I got it. I got it down here. I can get it real quick.
I mean, they still have some good stuff. There's actually, I was surprised by some of the future state stuff that came out actually not being horrible.
Garbage.
Oh, is that Bendis?
Yeah,
Oh, Lord.
yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a good comic.
The
I
art's
enjoyed
good. The art's phenomenal.
Well, I guess I'm
just
just not as talented as you on my reading skills to know if it's garbage on the content.
Well, if you read some Jeff Johns, you can tell that Mr. Bendis is very wordy, and it's just he can bore you a little bit.
In all fairness, Coach, I actually haven't had a chance to read those Bendis Superman issues yet, so they're on my to-do list. But I just have heard horrible reviews on it. So,
But again, I'm a newbie on that kind of stuff.
well, yeah, and so you might, yeah. I mean, that's good though. You come in with a fresh perspective of like, well, this is pretty good, and the art is phenomenal.
Yeah, the art's
Just
So,
right
good.
there. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Coach is right that there is some really good DC stuff out there. Like, Josh Williams has been phenomenal on the Flash, and
Yeah, he's really good.
even Grant Morrison's Green Lantern has been surprisingly pretty decent. I know.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Have you read it?
I got in there.
I mean, is it really that not too
It's
bad?
surprisingly pretty decent.
Now,
But you're not doing acid while you're reading it, are you?
That's the only way to do it, isn't it, Coach?
Oh,
Or
of
Ace?
course, yeah, of course. That's the only way you understand things.
Now,
Makes
here's a question
perfect
for me, for you all, and I know what you are, Ace. Are you digital, or do you have to have the paper?
Yes, I have to have the paper.
Oh yeah.
Is as late in the game as I have been, just kind of a little history lesson on me. Josh Ace really got me into comics about 10 years ago. So,
Okay.
Right when a lot of things have been changing, and I have to, I have to feel the comic to really experience it.
You just get the graphic novel, though, right?
Huh?
You just get the graphic novel, though, right?
Yeah, you want to see Josh and I's collection? I'll open the door. Josh, are you okay?
Oh, I want to see it. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, this is my basement, and this is where I keep all the comic books.
We're getting a tour.
It's gonna be scary. So
Nice.
yeah.
Oh man, are those are all coming my way? Oh no.
Yeah, those are all unread.
I'm just glad Carrie doesn't watch these.
Did you get this one today?
Ooh, what is
Oh,
Oh, that's
I's here.
who?
yeah.
You've got that, Smith?
It's coming your way.
This is heavy, man.
Pretty awesome, though.
I mean, that is a book.
But
Oh yeah.
if you and that's the cool thing about both Marvel and DC is they have those resources.
Yeah. All right. That is actually a whole nother one that we can do right there, just on that discussion. Now let's get to the discussion that could get a little. I mean, we might get on cancel culture with our 170 subs might be gone tomorrow. By the way,
Sorry, guys.
if we discuss this, but I'm ready.
Oh, are we going?
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
Or do you want to take off?
No. Are we good for time on the?
I mean, we haven't been kicked yet, and I know we've been doing this
Alright.
for over 45 minutes.
All right.
Yeah, we should be good.
We've been
You guys
over
get
an
started.
hour.
I'll return in one moment.
He's getting a beer.
I am not. Apple juice.
So, I heard what you said, but who is your main guy for DC?
It's the Booster Gold.
It is.
It's between. I mean, Booster Gold is probably my top guy, and I'm a big Flash Green Lantern guy too.
Okay.
Hal Jordan is probably, other than Booster Gold and Michael Carter, is, man, Hal Jordan is up there for one of the best personalities. And I think it has a lot to do with, when I got onto comics and Jeff Johns, when he did his rebirth run with Green Lantern and just showed us, man, this guy that we thought was just a boob of a character of Hal Jordan can actually be quite awesome.
Yeah.
I like to, in therapy, I like to talk a lot about him and how he is a resilient guy, because, man, he saw his dad die in a plane wreck and he still became a pilot. Like, who does that? Like, that takes a lot of kahunas to do. Like,
Iron Eagle.
It's true. I get it.
It was 2 movies of that.
Maverick still is a pilot to this day, and Goose has been dead for 25 years.
Yeah, but that's not his dad. That's not what his question was on that.
It's all the same. Hey, Rev, so do you actually, would you put Hal over Barry? Like, if you had to pick?
Currently, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but it is like neck and neck.
Yeah, okay, so it's really close. Yeah.
And I'm going to say, Ace, yours is Barry.
Oh, between those two?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm with Ref on that. It's really interchangeable. I would say right now I might be leaning Hal because he's gone. I mean, DC is like putting him on the bench. And so, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And now that Hal is not around, I want him more. I'm like, oh my gosh. I ended up getting a couple of Jeff Johns' omnibuses because I'm like, man, this is it. Hal's on the bench. Sucks. So, thankfully we still have Barry. But yeah, Hal, at least in the comics, is on the bench. And I think live action wise too, we've got the Green Lantern show coming up. No Hal Jordan at all. And you just know when we go to live action movies, they're going to put Jon Stewart front and center. Not that I don't like Jon Stewart. But I hate it that it comes at the expense of Hal Jordan. So
I think this segues perfectly then to our next little thing that we want to talk about.
Yeah. We be canceled.
Yeah. We might as well call this canceled.
Yes.
So my question as a newbie, I always go there. I've never understood why the good female superheroes that there already are, that they don't concentrate on them. Why do they continuously take a male character and change it to a female? Like, your biggest concern right now of Black Widow is Taskmaster being female. Correct?
Yeah. It worries me. And look, let's be clear here about something. I think we can all agree. No one's afraid of female heroes, or no one doesn't want female heroes.
Not at all.
I'm super excited for Black Widow. I freaking love Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like, I'm more traditional in the sense like, well, how were they in the comics for the last 50 years? And I'm kind of partial to them being portrayed how they were in the comics. That's just kind of how I prefer it. So, Taskmaster is a male in the comics, and I'm hoping they keep true to that in the movie. But I do feel like there's such an agenda right now to change things, either with race, whatever, or gender. Like, we just got to show all these strong female characters, and we're going to shove it in your face, and we're not going to do it organically. It's so annoying.
Yeah, or even sexuality. I mean, one of the things that, in mainstream comics like Marvel and DC, like, what is, in my eyes, least important is who they lay in bed with at night.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's just not. It's like irrelevant. Like who? Why is this central stage?
Unless you're Green Arrow. You know, there's certain ones that are Playboy billionaires like Iron Man, you know.
Well, yeah, it was cool to see Tony kind of getting around a bit, or Ollie.
Yeah.
Definitely, those two guys are the Gene Simmons of the comic world. So,
Jeez.
hey, you love Kiss. You be quiet. Yeah, exactly. But anyway,
But
going with your
what
point.
I'm seeing, okay, I could keep saying this, but what I'm seeing is a guy that just is really, especially Marvel. I'm one of the guys that got into Marvel after the Marvel movies really have started and kicked off, besides Spider-Man and like X-Men, like you're saying. But one thing that I am really seeing is all of these major roles. Okay, Iron Man's going to be taken over by now a female Iron Man. Captain
Oh
America
yeah.
or Hawkeye is going to be now female
Yep.
Hawkeye. Um,
Black Panther more than
Black
likely.
Panther, they've said, is probably going to be a female. So we're just going on and on and on main male comic book characters.
Thor.
So where does it stop? Why is it
Well,
so? Why can't they just go to the female superheroes and make them awesome? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I mean, yeah. I'm still waiting on Spider Woman. They're supposed to be working on it, but where's Spider Woman? Where's Black Cat? Where's Silver Sable? Where's uh what are some other really awesome female superheroes
I
from
mean,
Marvel?
well, yeah. I mean, Marvel. I mean, Wanda Maximoff is probably one of the coolest characters, and
Totally
Right,
agree.
love her. Okay, I want to see more of her. I can't
sure.
wait.
Well,
I'd watch a whole movie with her. I'd be more than excited to see Wanda. So yeah, that's the irritating part is like, there's a large group of people that would have, sharpening their knives with the three of us that we would even say such a thing, and that we must be threatened and we don't want to, support women, and it's all complete baloney.
Mm-hmm.
So, we love the strong female characters, but does that mean we have to give up all the male characters because of that? And I don't want all male characters.
Yeah.
We want the diversity. I want more strong African American characters. And Ref knows this. I'm a massive Luke Cage fan. I freaking love Luke Cage. And Black Panther has been one of my favorites for eons. So we all want that. We all want to see those characters come to life, but make it organic. Make it. We won't switch to DC and we won't switch to race. We're kind of keeping it on gender, but and I know several African American bloggers who feel the same way of like, look, we don't want African American or Black Superman. You know, there is a Black Superman, and his name's Icon from Milestone Comics. Like, that's an original character who has an amazing, kind of really cool story. Uh, why aren't you doing a movie about Icon? An original, strong Black character. Make that movie. Why switch it out? Like, okay, you don't get Clark Kent anymore. We're gonna make tokenized Superman. And it's like, they don't want that either. We don't want it. They don't want it. Make an original character like Icon. Make that movie. We'd all go see that movie.
well, I mean, even talking to DC standards, like they took a character who is what 50, 60, 70 years old in Alan Scott and made him homosexual. It just doesn't seem like that was quite necessary. Most people don't know that Alan Scott, who's Green Lantern, had a son who was homosexual. And
Right.
like, I mean, it just again, it doesn't fit the thing. Like, and the unfortunate thing is they're trying Marvel, with Ironheart, trying to take a character such as Iron Man and making this a young black female, which is great in turn, but it didn't lend to very good sales, and they're willing to sacrifice that, which is I understand that. If you're willing to say, I don't care about selling comics, I just want to make this statement with concern to race and gender and sexual identity and stuff like that. Good, great. I guess do that, but
Yeah.
you can't expect my dollar to go to something that I'm just really not that interested in.
Yeah.
It's as appealing as a Tony Stark Iron Man.
Right. Don't call me a name because I don't want to read that book.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay.
Like, make an original character about a young black genius character. Make an original character, and I will buy that book.
They've done that. I wasn't Simon Baz as Green Lantern, Jessica Cruz as Green Lantern, both minorities.
You're forgetting a big one, in my opinion, that they messed up on. That is an unbelievable character. Is Mr. Terrific?
Yes, very well. I mean, if you think about the old Justice Society of America and how diverse that, Josh, when did the JSA start coming out?
About 2000, 2001.
Yeah, but before that, it was All-Star Comics, right?
Oh, you mean the original Justice Society? Oh my gosh, we're talking 1940s.
Yeah, and you still had diversity there, didn't you?
Yeah, you had female characters on the team, even in the 40s.
Unfinished Business says there's no such thing as male and female. The correct term is them and they. If we were going off of mainstream, but I get what your point is, and just keep it the same rather than change. Same as the comics is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't identify as male or female. I identify as tree. So.
I am Groot.
Hey, if you don't call me tree, you're in real trouble, man. Call me tree or else.
Okay, so Ace is officially now known as Tree, not Ace anymore. So if you put any comments in the chat and you have a question for Ace, it's now got to be Tree.
Tree.
Here, I'm gonna put a text in there and make it just Tree. No, it'll take too long.
I think the problematic thing of this whole argument is that we erase some of the very great things that white, black, yellow, any type of superheroes have done. They have introduced some great minority superheroes. I'm a huge Atom fan, and Ray Palmer is like the thing for me.
Yeah.
But I like Ryan Cho. Like I like these minority supporting characters who can also be an opportunity, and it's
they can be A-list, yeah.
Sure. And Ant-Man, you are setting up a beautiful transition from Ant-Man to Cassie and her thing. Like, in 10 years, Cassie could be in the MCU as a very big supporting character.
Right. Well, she will be. She's gotta be in Ant-Man 3, and the Young Avengers are on their way. So yeah, all that's coming.
We've said this before, though, Ace. I'm gonna go to now DC a little bit just because I know a little bit more of that. I don't consider Wonder Woman, when I consider her a superhero, I'm not even like saying female. I think she's one of the most badass superheroes in all of DC. Not because she's female, it's just because she's a superhero. And I think DC also got Black Canary so wrong that I think she could have been right there with badass Wonder Woman if they would have got her
Yeah.
right. I think they have done
Boy.
an injustice in the female characters that are so good. They've done it wrong, if you know what I
Coach,
mean.
are you talking
Right.
in the TV universe, or are you talking
Yeah,
Birds
most
of Prey?
definitely. No,
Okay.
for sure the TV universe.
Did you ever watch Birds of Prey, Coach?
I didn't because I was
No,
worried it was
and
bad.
nor should you. Um,
Yikes! Yeah, you think they didn't get Black Canary right in Arrow? Oh Lord!
I think I think Talia al Ghul would be an amazing one too if they would get her. But I think she was okay in Arrow, but I think they can get her better than because she is a badass.
I've never seen Talia al Ghul portrayed right.
Mm-mm.
no, even in Dark Knight, it was
Uh,
she was just conniving. She didn't have any
oh,
skills.
I wish we could pull up the scene where she dies in Dark Knight Rises. It's like
Mhm.
literally the worst death scene ever. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
Christopher Nolan, how did you think that was like? Yeah, I don't think we need to redo it. Cut the check. We got it. Put it in the movie. That's literally the worst death scene ever. Go watch it. You will laugh your butt off.
You've really enjoyed the series Stargirl, and I'm trying to get to watch it, but when you're trying to watch millions of things, you only have so much time.
Yeah.
Um, is that something that you feel they're getting right?
Yeah,
With,
because Jeff Johns is doing it.
I mean,
That's probably hurts Jeff to a fault. I think that has bit him in the ass on Justice League and got him a bad reputation in Hollywood because he puts the needs of the character first, and he knows the characters better than anybody. And so he's not willing to budge a lot, I think, and wants to keep true to the characters. And so sometimes it creates problems, and sometimes it doesn't translate because maybe the director doesn't feel the vision is what he wants, and so it just hasn't translated. So he's got a bit of a rough reputation in Hollywood, unfortunately. But his comic writing is so A+, and he's got a lot to say about Stargirl because Stargirl is based on his sister who died tragically in a plane crash. And so, because of his involvement so far, season 1, I mean, Stargirl, Ref, what do you think? I mean, is like so spot on with all the characters. It's pretty awesome.
It is. I mean, it's shockingly great. I mean, again, there's probably and Ace knows this very well that one of my favorite C-list characters is Dr. Midnight, which was not done so well in that series, but and
in Stargirl.
Yes.
Oh, we didn't get to see much of him, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean,
he's portrayed by Elliot from E.T., and you can't even show him. What the heck? Come on, man.
But Stargirl is done so well. I mean, because I think you're bringing in so many different elements. Stargirl is like Josh's Ace is saying that is a new creation.
Right.
How long she been around? Early 2000s. I mean, she's not that
late 90s, early 2000s.
What's wrong with them just doing that? What's wrong with them just making a whole new character and
They're
what
lazy.
they want it to be?
They're lazy and they just run out of, man, I'm telling you right now, to segue back for just a second on Marvel and DC, they are creatively bankrupt. It's really bad, especially Marvel, because this Heroes Reborn ref, you know, by the way, we got to get previews. But but that Heroes Reborn, this new event that's coming up, is so lame and so like, this is all you guys can come up with. So that in turn is, I'm answering the question of like, why not do we have more Stargirls? It's because I just don't think they don't have any skilled players there. All the skilled guys are leaving Marvel and DC because they get treated like crap. They get paid peanuts. They realize that I can go sell 700 copies of a comic compared to, 80,000 of Batman, but I'm going to make 10 times as much money doing that. So And that's where all your talent is going.
By the way, Chad has a new game they're playing. For those watching this after the fact, you should make a game, take a shot for each time ref calls Ace by his first name.
Dude, you guys have
I like it.
pretty quick.
I feel like that's maybe a genius game. Yeah.
I think Ace needs to change his name on said thing here. It's really
I
distracting.
just feel Ace is lazy and doesn't want to, so.
It's kind of true.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's put it out there.
That's true.
Let's put it out
That's-
there.
What we talked
That's
about
mean,
earlier,
bro.
what we had talked about earlier in the show is that Marvel's business model is, let's take a central idea and just throw everything at it. So what they do in comics is they have this main event that's overarching, and then they do these little mini events, like, okay, here's this event. How did that affect the X-Men? And then how did that affect the Avengers?
Yeah.
And how did that affect the Fantastic Four? And how did that affect this new team? And how did it affect this person? And how did it affect this person? And to me, that just seems like you're just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
That's all they do. Yeah, they dilute a really good story with 80,000 spin-offs of that story. And they're like, oh, you don't have to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, eventually they tie in enough that you feel compelled to read it, and most of it's garbage. You know, the writers aren't any good. The art usually sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And it never ends, though, because one event goes right into the next event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in real trouble. They're in real trouble right now. And we could get off the rails here a little bit, but I mean, I think there's a realistic scenario where possibly Warner Brothers or Warner Media and Disney decide, you know what, financially it doesn't make sense to keep making new comics. We have 80 years of stories that we can mine for our IP. And we'll just continue to print trades of past works and make money off of that. Why are we making new comics? We're making peanuts compared to what our shows and movies are making. So really, why are we doing this? And I think it's real close to coming, especially since what they are producing is hot garbage.
So how much do you hope what happens to DC, especially where they're going to allow a fan or somebody to buy the rights of certain comics and allow them to write new ones? You know, the rumor was the guy that wrote
Robert Kirkman, who does Invincible and Walking Dead. Yeah.
Do you think that would be good if they would do that and just get rid of it, but then they can go back and make movies off of what is created there?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, honestly. I guess I just don't know. I feel like, well, there's potential there. Or do I almost feel like they do need to break? I mean, maybe we do need to stop publishing some books and let people recharge and miss getting some of these characters and have them come back strong. Maybe it makes more sense to only produce, 4 prestige Superman books a year instead of 6 titles a month. Because I mean, let's look at Harry Potter. Let's take Harry Potter for example. You have 7 books, 8 if you count the Cursed Child or whatever, and that's it. I mean, you've built an empire on 8 books, and those books were years in between. Now let's conversely go look at Batman and Superman. You have 3 to 7 or 8 titles a month. I mean, eventually, a lot of these stories aren't worth shit, because it's just how creative can you be if you produce
too
story
saturated.
after story after story after story, and you're going to repeat in this event and that event. It's almost like, man, we do need to spread it out to be more creative. It would hurt longtime comic readers like myself not to have new content as much, but maybe it's necessary. I don't know. But that's Ref. What do you think?
Well, I think it's quite necessary. I mean, again, rehashing the same old things over and over and over is obviously causing some convolutedness. Now,
Yeah.
I truly do believe that the MCU is not developed for the comic reader. It's developed for the
Yeah.
kid and the casual person to get really interested in these storylines, because really I think they just ran out of, I got into comic reading right around Iron Man 2, and like, I didn't know a hoot about Iron Man, and I mean, I don't think Iron Man really caught on that well initially. So I mean, I think it was fascinating to have all this universe expanding, but also it's hurt the comics. I think it's as great as it's been to see these people, these characters and whatnot in live things. It's hurt the comics, because again, if I can go watch a show or go watch a movie that's about some of my favorite characters, then why would I have any interest to go read?
Yeah.
We're tech interested. The American society is just really tech interested. So
Yeah. I mean,
we're lazy in
that's
senses.
well, I mean, and that's very true. It's not as true with DC, but Marvel for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now the Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr. in the comics, or Star Lord is Chris Pratt. I mean, it's like, oh, hey, we're the comic company, we're setting the standard, but we're gonna pretty much ape the movies now. And it's like, okay, so this. As much as I love Guardians of the Galaxy movies, both of them, really Star Lord is not really like that in the comics. And now he is that. And it's really
Has there
okay.
been a good Guardians of the Galaxy comic since then? I would say
No. I mean, as popular as they are, their comic is borderline unreadable. It sucks so bad.
mm-hmm.
Now, everything pre-movie was amazing. Everything they based the movies off of was phenomenal. But now the new stuff, because the creators are trying to ape the movies, oof, terrible.
Now,
Horrible.
as a business part, and I always compare this to churches. Churches know that they have to get younger. If they don't get younger, they're going to die. And
Right.
unfortunately, the age that we're on the end part of what they're worried about. They want younger. And so, I feel
We're
like
close to that age where they don't care. No.
I beg to differ.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
they don't care. They have us anyway. You know what I mean? They can make a movie and we'll still probably watch it, no matter what.
They're not going to cater to us because they have us. That's a good point. Yep.
So they're trying to figure out ways to get to that 20-year-old, 16-year-old, 30-year-old that they've never gotten to. Maybe it's so saturated with the comic book stories that's why they're making some of these superheroes females all of a sudden, because they don't have another thing to write. They're done. They don't even know where to go. So maybe you're right. If they would stop and maybe allow people to look up old trades and go from there, I don't know. But man, something's got to give, because what they're really doing in the long run right now, if they keep going down the road, is they're going to lose everybody. They're going to lose the people that are really interested and always have been, growing up as a kid to now, because they're so ticked off that none of the comics are what they ever were doing before. Like, you listen to Popcorn Planet, Nerderotic, none of them are reading Marvel comics right now because they're just sick of it. And that's what's... So they're going downhill because nobody they're trying to gear for is interested. They're just watching the movie, like you said. I can watch a movie.
Yeah. And then you pile on top of that the fact that most of the staff at Marvel and DC are really there to just sell a message.
Yeah.
Identity politics. Now it's, and as a rebuttal, those same individuals are like, comics have always been political. Like, oh, okay, there's some truth to that. Stan and Jack were geniuses, and they would sprinkle in some social commentary. And I mean, I wish I could quote it, but Stan had a great quote like, hey, he does that, but he's not going to sacrifice story to make a political statement. But now they totally are. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm making a statement first, foremost. I'm pushing my agenda, whatever that is, and the characterization and all come a distant second.
Well, I mean,
So,
just so people can drink, Josh,
Yeah.
that one of the things that was in my opinion pretty fascinating was Denny O'Neil's run on the team up between Green Arrow and Green Lantern. Now you brought two sides of it here again, and I think
right.
Ace, we have talked about this. Is there's just one side to the messaging right now, and I think I think media and whatnot have become so polarized in these things that type of messaging.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess if you could go a little bit back into it, is like Green Lantern, Hal Jordan was maybe a little bit more conservative in his viewpoints.
Yeah, he was. He was a conservative guy, and Ollie's always been the extreme liberal. And Denny O'Neil was a liberal fella, but he still put in both sides of the story, and that's why people gravitated to it. He did a really good job of like showing the liberal perspective, and he showed the conservative perspective.
And it worked together. I mean,
right.
it made you feel like, okay, I didn't really hate Ollie. I'm a conservative person, but I didn't really hate Ollie's perspective.
Right.
And
You're like, oh, I was like, okay, I see some of that.
But what
Yeah,
you're all saying right there is actually the problem with the whole country is we can't
Yeah,
have somebody
yeah.
else's opinion be different than ours. And so that's what they're doing. They're just going to one opinion. And I remember Stan Lee saying one of the questions he was always asked at like Comic-Cons and stuff is, if this superhero was up against this superhero, who would win in a fight? And Stan Lee's comeback was always, whoever I pick, because I'm the writer.
Oh, right. Yeah,
True.
we were. Yeah,
These
that
are
was a great.
These are
He's like,
fictional,
"These are fictional characters.
Yes. We
Yeah.
don't need real life BS that we have to deal with every day to be
Right.
also in what we're wanting to read in a fiction world. And I think it's gotten too much.
It's my biggest coping skill in life is to be able to escape into comic world and not have to worry about the everyday struggles of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism, and I've used it since I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, if I felt a certain way or was stressed about this or that, even in adolescence, it was like, as I've grown up, I've realized that was a really strong coping skill that like helped me feel good.
Yeah.
And I gravitated to certain characters, obviously, and the heroic mindset. I admired that. And you don't see that as much these days. And that's why I gravitated to more characters like the Superman or Captain America, the righteous heroes. I like that. I like to look up to that type of standard. Even if I can't always achieve it, it's like that's what I would strive for.
Yeah.
And or Barry was always a extremely self-sacrificing guy, and we are losing that with our heroes and the whole deconstructionist type of thing, and that's why I really gravitate towards, Chris Evans' performance, not his person, but performance as Captain America. It's like, man, that is gold standard stuff, man. That is just gold standard. I love what they stayed true to Cap, and his presence is so profound in Falcon and the Winter Soldier still. Hey, Steve was a rarity in his wholesomeness. People taking the super soldier serum, most of them turn bad, but not Steve because he was that good.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, that's what I want to strive for. That's what you want to go for, and we are losing that a lot in the comics too. So, because it's all politics, it's all identity politics.
So
that's the most important thing.
Before we get into Jupiter's Legacy, you said something about Steve Rogers about Falcon and Winter Soldier that I wanted to ask you all. Who they are now saying this is going to be the episode that someone big comes up. Who's going to be the cameo? Are we getting duped like Doctor Strange was in WandaVision, or is it actually going to be somebody?
Once bitten, twice shy.
Def Leppard, okay. So you're saying nobody?
Great White, that's Great White, yeah.
No, the D-Man, he's gonna show up.
No, you're right. I did forget.
D-Man, ooh, D-Man.
D-Man's gonna show up.
I would actually get really super excited about that.
Wait, what?
Oh, jeez.
Don't you ever say
Dr. Drew?
Demolition. Oh. Coach, do yourself a favor. Go research the greatest Avenger of all time. Dr. Druid. Dr. Druid is the greatest Avenger of all time. And our friend Ref here will acknowledge that.
Oh, God.
Okay, so...
And the coolest... Yeah, he's the greatest.
So you're saying nobody?
Okay, if we have to be serious... I don't know. There's talk that it's going to be Yelena from Black Widow, Okay. We've seen it from the previews. There's a rumor it could be Kate Bishop makes a kind of an appearance. They are saying it's somebody from the MCU, a big name actor, a new character that hasn't appeared yet. I'm getting my hope or my anticipation is still, I'm keeping it right here.
Okay. What do you think, Ref, if you're going to pick somebody?
I couldn't even. Maybe this is where they introduced Owen Wilson in whatever role he's. I don't. I could see them doing something wild in that sense. Looking at, Marvel likes to have some sort of connective tissue with everything that they do. So I could see them throwing some sort of Loki reminder in there. So.
I'm going to get my aerospace engineer finally.
The only thing I thought of, and this is from that Charles Murphy fella he's pretty good. There were set pictures of someone in pink hair from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so everyone was speculating who this character is. And he naturally went to Songbird because of the pink hair. Or she's got kind of a white streak in white and pink or whatever. So, I mean, it's a really, really, really long shot. But maybe you throw in some actress like, oh, hey, I didn't know she's in this. And maybe she's setting up Songbird for some kind of Thunderbolts thing. But that's a long shot at this point.
Then if that's going to be the case, it's for sure setting something else up.
If it was her, if it is her, and then you can you can take that 7.5 to 10 for Thunderbolts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now you want to move into Jupiter's Legacy. They did some character trailers. And
yeah.
I don't know. Can
I? Diabetic. I'll be right back.
Do you think I can play this?
Well, we can play really small clips.
Well, they're each only like 20 seconds, 18 seconds.
We probably could play one or two.
Stop.
I think Sky Fox is one of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get them to where it at least shows their name, and then we'll talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually been quite a while since I've read the comic. But what I'm seeing is even more exciting than the comic. So,
okay,
this looks. I mean, this looks really good.
Okay. You want to wait? I want to wait. We can filibuster for a second.
Yeah, we're gonna filibuster. So yeah, I'm excited for this series, especially since Black Widow got moved off of the
Yeah.
May 7th date. So this
Will we
really
be
is
able to
good.
watch this whole series before Black Widow then?
Yeah, it's Netflix, and Netflix seems to be kind of the holdout for them dumping entire. I don't think Netflix does weekly at all. I mean, they're the only one that's like, when we put out the series,
Oh.
boom, you
So
get
we
all the
can
episodes.
binge it the whole time.
Yeah, I
They just
did
know
find out
everybody
it's eight.
binges it.
Yeah, I did find out that it's 8 episodes, and I don't know how long each episode is though,
What would
so
you
I don't
guess?
know that.
30 to 40 minutes?
I'm gonna guess minimum 40 for Netflix. Netflix tends not to like. Let's look at the Marvel shows, and all of those were close to an hour a piece. Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, all of those were close to the upper 40s to 60 minutes. So I'd say we're good to go on that for these 8 episodes. For
So we're going to
Jupiter's
probably
Legacy.
get anywhere from 6 to 8 hours worth of content.
Yeah. I don't see you finishing it in one night unless you are a super fan and wanted to stay up, to do it.
And then we got to just, stream afterwards and go through each one. So let's talk about Skyfox. What can you tell us about Skyfox? Because I don't know anything about Jupiter's Legacy, but it does look very interesting.
Yeah, that's one of those other ones you ought to either get digitally or they're Mark Millar or Miller. It's pronounced differently each time I hear it, but his books are quick reads, but they're always super good. And Jupiter's Legacy is like got three different trades, and then he's working on the fourth and final one. So, but anyway, it's just a story of these 6 individuals who go to this island kind of back in the 30s or 40s, back in kind of that Indiana Jones type setting, and looking for treasure, and they come across this thing that gives them all these superpowers, and they go back and be superheroes for eons. And now they've all got kids grown, and they've passed on their powers to them.
Oh wow.
And how their kids are a hot mess. They're not upholding the legacy of the team. And I think they're called the Union. The Union is, their kids are kind of a mess. They're into drugs. They don't want to be heroes, or if they're are heroes, they're not very good. And then you kind of find out that the Union, then they have the second volume's all about the Union back in the 40s and 50s, and how, everyone thinks they're perfect, and it's like, oh, they were pretty screwed up too. So I don't know what format the show's going to take, but we'll see. I'm sure it won't be a direct from the comics. I'm sure they'll change it up a little bit, so we'll have to see what they end up doing. But.
So I want you to now, and Ref, do you know anything about this, Ref? Are you into Jupiter's Legacy enough?
Well, I have to be completely honest to say that this is probably one of Millar's weakest titles in my sense. Like I feel like he has umpteen different titles or different ideas that he could have thrown in front of Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah.
But it's not one that I've been totally interested in, but anything Millar touches is, and I think Kingsman is a great example. Kick-Ass is a great example of even his stuff does translate to the big and small screen. So
he did Wanted as well.
Wanted, yes.
All right, so let's talk about Skyfox. What can the viewer expect from him?
Well, just based on and I've got a theory about something, and we'll go into this. But Skyfox is your Batman. He's the Batman of this of this story where the Utopian Josh Duhamel, his character is the Superman. And so, but this character, Sky Fox, is very much the Batman. And he resorts, if I remember the comic right, and Ref, do you recall much? It's been a while since I've read it too, so there's a lot of details that I'm probably going to get wrong. But I think he starts to kind of turn on the Union and doesn't like how they do things, and it's really kind of becomes a villain to the other characters, but he's really the hero of the story in a sense. So
interesting.
And I like this actor. My son and I, we love that show Timeless that was on NBC for a couple seasons, and he was the main character in that. It was a good show. So who's next?
Oh, getting there. The Flare.
Okay, yeah. So they did change his race. He's white in the comics. The Flare is the Flash, so he's your Flash analogy. Super fast. I do remember in the comics, and this is the second volume. Raph, do you remember reading that? The second volume, it was like all about them in the 50s when they were in their classic costumes. And I forgot his story. He was a bit of a woman. No, I don't know if he was a womanizer, but he was.
He was very unlikable.
The Flare was? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think he had like multiple affairs, and he had a wife at home, and was kind of a D-bag. So, and we'll get to the Flare too, his daughter, that is in the previews, but I don't think he didn't have a daughter in the comics who was a superhero, so that's new. That's different.
So is that I'm guessing the daughter now is the Flare too.
Yeah.
That's really original.
Well, when you
that's pretty hard work there.
You just keep, hey man, when it works, it works. You keep it going.
She has a kid. It's Flare 3.
Hey, if it works for George Foreman, it'll work for anyone.
I just want to become Flare 69.
When all your kids are named George, you keep it real.
Yeah.
Keep it real.
I think that's pretty. I'm sorry, as a new viewer of this, that's weak.
Yeah. Well, I like sequels.
Yeah. All right, I think that's still weak.
Who we got?
It takes a second to get to it for some reason.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Sorry. I'm trying, man. I really am. Hutch is next.
Oh, Hutch. Hutch was he's a villain. I can't remember for sure if he's the son of a major villain, something like that. But he's a villain.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but he's not a bad guy. He ends up befriending or falling in love with Chloe, who there's a one on her too, Chloe Sampson, and she's the daughter of the Utopian. So she's the prime example of kind of worthless. I don't want to say worthless, but she's not living up to the standard that was set by the family. She isn't even a superhero. She's a model who does lots of drugs, lots of one-night stands, and she's kind of just lost. Like a rich, I think he's using like, hey, famous actors and their kids. A lot of times their kids end up not being too great.
Well, like athletes especially.
Oh yeah. So she's that analogy. So she's pretty lost, and somehow she hooks up with Dutch, and they end up discovering a secret, and it kind of changes both their lives. And they fall in love in the comic, and try to correct a lot of wrongs. So we'll see what happens. I think they'll go that same route in the show.
What about Reiku?
I remember the least about her. I think she's just an assassin. So I don't know if they're going to flesh her out much in the show. she's hired. She's kind of a villain. She's kind of a Deathstroke type, really.
Hmm. All right. This takes too long.
Ay, 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 papi.
Who is next?
Uh-oh. I got a yawn going. That's not good.
Oh,
You
don't
do that.
do
Don't do
that.
it. Don't you do it.
Don't do it.
It's bad mojo, man.
They aren't pulling up now, believe it or not.
Oh, they're not pulling up?
No. So you got the main, who's the main guy again? I know who the
Well,
actor is.
Josh Duhamel, of course, so we all know him. He's the Utopian. He's your Superman. He's a real hero, and he's beat down from lots of years of self-sacrifice and battles and what have you, and disappointment in his kids. Another one on there was Paragon. I think you'll remember this ref, but in the books, he's kind of a loser too. But they changed him in the show to put him in a costume. He doesn't have a costume in the comics. He's just kind of a loser like his sister. But he's definitely got a costume in the show, and it looks like he's probably attempting to be a hero called Paragon. And so I suspect though that he's not real great in the show, or not living up to his dad's standards. So
Okay, they're coming back up now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm on Paragon right now, so.
Yep. So he's the son of Utopian, and his sister's Chloe.
Okay.
So, and again, we'll see because this is a change. He was not he did not have a costume in the show, or excuse me, the comic. So he looks a little more capable in the show than he was in the comic. He was pretty much a loser in the comic.
What about I'm guessing, who is Brainwave?
Okay, so that's the brother. He's brothers with the Utopian.
Okay. And then I'm guessing Lady Liberty is the Utopian's wife?
Correct.
Now, where have I seen her before, the actress?
Yeah, it's Leslie Bibb is her name, and it's like she's been in something major, and I'm like, I just need to.
I'm gonna look it up because I know I've seen it.
Yeah, she's been in something pretty big, some movies, maybe a bunch of movies. So I'm like, golly, I can't place it.
She's been in Private Parts.
Yeah, that's not the one.
What has she been in? Zookeeper, Iron Man 2. She was the reporter.
Oh, she's a reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like she's had an even bigger role than that. I think she's on
Talladega Nights. She was Ricky Bobby's wife.
Ricky Bobby.
It.
Oh,
that's it.
That was it.
Sweet baby Jesus.
Do you know one of those kids killed themselves? That's terrible.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, one of the boys, one of the actors that played one of his sons. Yeah, killed himself. Really sad.
Now, explain Utopian a little bit. I know you said that he is basically Superman.
Yeah, he's basically Superman. And he's generally in the comics. He's he's not perfect, but he's a hero. He's a little controlling, but he's a hero.
But you said they started in the 40s, correct?
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Is this going to be based on like today, or is that why his gray hair? Or
yeah. As you can see, Lady Liberty. They showed some flashbacks in some of these little clips where you see Josh Duhamel young with black hair and his wife with black. So they've aged slowly, but they are starting to age, and so you see some of that.
Okay.
And then Brainwave is like in the comic. Do you remember this ref where I think Frank Quietly, they literally drew him to look just like Richard Dreyfuss.
Mm-hmm.
So Brainwave was, if Richard Dreyfuss was younger, he would have totally been cast as Brainwave.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, you remember we loved the show The Exorcist on Fox?
Oh,
So that he's playing Brainwave. That actor is
Priest.
the priest. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, he's Brainwave in this.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yeah. So his brother. So Brainwave's maybe not so nice in this. I won't spoil it, but he might not be so nice.
So when does this come out again?
May 7th, coming out May 7th.
May 7th. Okay.
You know, it was going head to head with Black Widow, but now it's got the whole weekend to itself for streaming.
And that should help it a lot. Like,
I think so too. I think so too. Yeah, it'll be, you know, Netflix can now get more press for it and not have to compete with Black Widow's opening weekend.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice to spread it out some. So
I think that's gonna be it, unless you have any more. Either one of you.
no, you know, I don't. Ref, you got any more thoughts on Jupiter's Legacy, or you might tell them about some of Miller or Millar. We never know how to pronounce it on Netflix. You know, what's your favorite Miller book?
There is so many. I mean, Kick-Ass has always been great, and you know, I'm glad that we have a pretty awesome movie, especially.
Yeah, that first one was great.
Oh yes. I mean, Kingsman was always great too. I
actually prefer the movie to the comic, which is crazy.
Yes. But one of my favorite Millar works is Reborn, and
yeah, that's really good. Yeah,
I think it's just a great work, you know. And you know, Ace and I kind of follow some of this stuff, in the you know, Sandra Bullock was she rumored to maybe act in it, or
yeah, I mean, definitely produce it and potentially star in it. So I haven't heard much about it lately though, so I don't know where it stands right now.
Yeah, the cool thing is Millar is definitely maybe a little bit more liberal with his politics, but he's also a devout Catholic, and
yeah, he is big time.
He really did dabble in some weird spiritual stuff in Reborn, and I think that's the cool.
Yeah, I recommend you guys read it. He had a very interesting take on what happens after you die. Very, very interesting.
Oh no.
No, I mean, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not any faith. It's not Christian. It's not Buddhist. It's not any of that. It's a whole new, you know, just like a different take on what happens when you die. But it's pretty great. It's pretty fun. I mean, it's really a good story. So
that's what I recommend it. Look into.
I recommend it highly. And then my favorite is Starlight. That they just literally announced. Joe Cornish is the director and writer, and 20th Century Fox, which is Disney, is making the movie. So I could almost see it even going to Disney Plus. But it's the story of a Flash Gordon type who had all these adventures in space, like John Carter or Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers. And he comes back to Earth and no one believes him. You know, like, yeah, okay, buddy, sure. And so, you know, he spent all these years telling stories, and he's an old man now, and he gets brought back to the planet to, like, oh, you're Duke McQueen. We've got to have you save our planet again. He's like, I'm an old man. Like, well, we need you. So he goes back to have one last adventure. So like, really, it's one of my favorites. So anyway,
I personally liked Wanted. I liked the movie Wanted. I really did. And then I like Kingsman too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Kingsman is really, really. I love Kingsman, man.
Yeah.
I do love that. So he's got a ton of other ones. Superior is another amazing book. And Nemesis, Chrononauts. So read them all. Actually, there's really not a bad Millar book.
And you know, I think even Millar, with his dabbling in the Marvel universe, if you ever want to get a different take at the Avengers and, you know, some of the other people an Ultimates version. It's called the Ultimates. It's a different universe, but it's pretty great. I don't know if you agree, Ace, but the
Oh
Ultimate.
yeah, it's really really good, and that's how we got Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. He was the first to do that, and it was an alternate universe, and they decided to draw Nick Fury as Samuel Jackson, and then years later they got, hey, you want to actually play Nick Fury, and they got him, and
That's
so
awesome.
that's the definitive Nick Fury now.
That's awesome. That's all I got. I think we're done.
I think we got it. Hey, everybody out.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
We are out.